Hello MotoGP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez arrived in Brno fresh from a dominant Balaton weekend but clear-eyed about the work still to do. The 9-time champion says his speed is returning while his physical recovery continues, and he insists mental resilience has been the decisive factor keeping him fighting through a difficult period. Pecco Bagnaia arrived in Brno cautiously optimistic about Ducati's progress but blunt about unresolved handling issues and the direction of proposed MotoGP rule changes. He praised improvements at the front end, warned that the rear-end behaviour still forces him to overthink, and criticized plans such as a single bike rule and the limited Pirelli testing window. Aprilia's Marco Bezzechi gave a terse no when asked whether the atmosphere inside the factory team had changed after the first corner crash in Hungary that also involved teammate Jorge Martin. Bezzechi downplayed any rift, outlined his physical status and backed measured evaluation of proposed safety changes such as removing start devices. His response reflects both a desire to move on from speculation and a determination to keep the focus on racing as the championship heads into Brno. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Marquez confirmed he is still rebuilding physically after recent injuries, describing steady gains in the gym and ongoing physiotherapy. He singled out Mugello as a benchmark and expects Brno, a more demanding, right-hand bias circuit, to be a clearer indicator of where his fitness truly stands. The more time passes, the more training you accumulate and the more progress you make. Incremental physical improvements are being prioritized over rushed returns. The team is managing workload to avoid setbacks. Beyond physical recovery, Marquez emphasized the psychological battle he has fought. He said surviving tough periods has made him mentally stronger, and that this resilience is essential to continue competing at the top level. Mentally, I am stronger than ever, otherwise I would have thrown in the towel. Mental conditioning has become as important as physical rehab in elite motorsport recoveries. Marquez warned that Brno's elevation changes, heavy braking and flowing high-speed corners present a different challenge to Balaton's more forgiving layout. He plans a measured, day-by-day approach to close the gap to the leaders and to test how his arm responds under race conditions. Here we must reduce that gap. Brno will expose any lingering deficits in endurance and braking confidence. The rider expressed faith in the decisive's potential, saying the bike has the ingredients to fight for a championship and that he believes he has not yet extracted its full performance. He also acknowledged the role of riding style and how different machines suit different riders. The bike has always been there. It is a sufficiently competitive motorcycle to fight for a world championship. Rider-bike synergy remains a moving target as Marquez balances recovery with performance extraction. Marquez confirmed he will take part in Monday's 850 cubic centimeters Ducati test on Pirelli rubber, underlining the importance of lending his experience to both manufacturer and tire supplier as the sport transitions to new regulations. Early rider input will shape tire and chassis directions ahead of 2027. Off the bike, Marquez laughed off F1 retirement jokes and said his paddock visit was about learning rather than switching disciplines. He also admitted surprise at a viral celebration planned by his team, showing a relaxed side amid the competitive focus. I'm not even thinking about it, switching to F1. Cross-discipline curiosity is common among top drivers but rarely signals a career change. Marc Márquez arrives in Brno carrying momentum and a pragmatic plan. Continue measured physical rehabilitation, rely on hard-won mental resilience, and use the weekend as a reality check. If his arm and endurance respond as hoped, Marquez and Ducati should remain front-running contenders. If not, the next few races will be a careful balancing act between chasing results and safeguarding long-term recovery. Bagnaia said this year's decisive gives him better front-end stability, which helps him be more competitive than last season. He expects the recent setup work to pay dividends at Brno, a circuit where precise front feel and mid-corner stability are crucial. With a more stable front end, I can drive better. Front-end confidence often unlocks a rider's ability to ride naturally rather than compensating with conscious corrections. Despite front improvements, Bagnaia remains hampered by a loose rear that forces him to ride cautiously. He described not being able to pilot naturally, because the rear begins to slide when he asks for more, which slows him and makes setup work more complex. The priority this weekend is finding a rear balance that lets him attack without overthinking. Rear instability can cost lap time and tire life. Solving it typically requires coordinated chassis, suspension, and electronics adjustments. Bagnaia was outspoken about the proposed rule changes, calling the move to smaller engines and a one-bike rule a step backwards for MotoGP. He supported removing ride height devices for safety reasons but warned that running with a single race bike would create strategic and practical problems. For example, losing a qualifying lap and then having to use a spare in the race. We are taking steps backwards compared to what MotoGP is today. Changes that reduce on-track options can simplify costs but risk removing tactical variety and spectacle. Bagnaia criticized the limited testing time with Pirelli rubber ahead of the 850 cubic centimeters switch, arguing that arriving at homologation with almost no tire data is risky. He suggested it would have been preferable to run current 1000 cubic centimeters bikes on Pirelli compounds first, but acknowledged that the calendar and supplier choices make that impossible. The compressed test windows, he warned, leave little margin for error. Tire understanding is central to setup. Insufficient test mileage can force conservative race strategies early in a regulation cycle. Bagnaia likes Brno's old-school layout and believes it offers a genuine setup playground compared with flatter circuits. He expects to work on rear stability and exploit the improved front end to ride more naturally. If he achieves that, he believes he can fight for wins. The team will use free practice to iterate on chassis and brake feel to suit the track's elevation and flowing corners. Brno rewards mid-corner balance and braking precision, so small setup gains can translate into significant lap time improvements. Pecco Bagnaia arrives in Brno cautiously optimistic. Ducati's front-end gains give him hope, but the unresolved rear-end behavior and broader regulatory concerns temper enthusiasm. If the team can stabilize the rear and Bagnaia can ride more instinctively, he should be competitive. If not, the weekend will underline why consistent development and clearer testing plans are essential as MotoGP moves toward 2027. Asked if the Balaton incident had altered the team dynamic, Bezzechi replied with a single word: no. The brevity of his answer was striking, especially given the history of occasional disagreements between the two riders. By refusing to elaborate, Bezzechi effectively shut down the narrative of internal conflict and signaled that his priority is performance, not paddock politics. In MotoGP, where media speculation can quickly spiral, short, firm answers often serve as a tactical move to diffuse tension and redirect attention to the track. Bezzechi confirmed he felt largely recovered from the impact, reporting pain on his right side but no lasting damage to hand or leg after medical checks. He admitted he had not ridden since the crash, making Friday morning at Brno his first on-bike session post-incident. Despite lingering soreness, he expressed confidence that the injuries would not affect his riding. "I'm okay. Tomorrow morning will be the first time after the crash." Returning riders often use FP1 to gauge comfort and range of motion, with teams closely monitoring telemetry and rider feedback before pushing harder in later sessions. Bezzechi addressed the ongoing debate about start devices, which have been linked by some riders to first corner chaos. He rejected the idea that they directly caused the Balaton pileup but welcomed the chance to test a ban. His stance reflects a pragmatic approach, open to change, but only if supported by evidence. "I don't think the Balaton incident was because of the devices, but it can be a solution." Safety innovations in MotoGP often require controlled trials to separate perception from reality. Bezzechi's comments highlight the importance of data-driven decisions. Jorge Martin, who triggered the crash, publicly apologized to all riders and manufacturers involved. He admitted to struggling mentally in the aftermath, recalling his own injury-plagued 2025 season, and stressed that he never wants to endanger others. Martin emphasized the need for Aprilia to remain united, saying he had spoken with Bezzechi and team boss Massimo Rivola to align on moving forward. "I want to apologize. Now is the time to be more united than ever." Public apologies combined with private reconciliation are standard steps to rebuild trust between teammates after high-profile incidents. Both riders made clear their focus is on Brno. Bezzechi's priority is to confirm his physical recovery and adapt the RSGP setup, while Martin aims to manage his fitness and mental reset despite not being at 100%. For Aprilia, stabilizing performance and protecting their championship campaign outweighs revisiting past mistakes. Teams facing mid-season disruption typically adopt pragmatic, process-driven weekend plans to restore momentum quickly. Marco Bezzechi's clipped "no" closed the door on speculation about a fractured team atmosphere and redirected attention to recovery and performance at Brno. Jorge Martin's apology and call for unity reinforced that message, showing both riders are committed to cohesion. With Aprilia prioritizing medical checks, setup refinement, and championship stability, the Czech round will be a litmus test of whether the team can translate words of unity into on-track results and maintain momentum in a fiercely contested season. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!